o'clock. Welcome everyone. Thank you for attending Happy Safety Week, Employee Safety Week for 2019. And we're going to kick it off this week with Officer Hughes and Officer Lang from the Metropolitan Police Department. They are here today to present about active shooter preparedness. I know that you guys have learned this in new hire orientation and annual competency fair over the years, but it's always a good reminder to have them come and present and just refresh everybody on what to do. All right, guys. Welcome, Officer Hughes.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Everybody go over here to the man dish. Get your pizza. The man dish. It says man dish.
Ah, got it.
All right. Slow crowd. Okay. All right. A little slow. Thanks for inviting us out again. We've been here in the past. Who's seen this last year? I was here last year. A few of you. Okay, good. So there's some new faces as well. It's good to see it again. This is just mainly a word of mouth thing that gets around that we do in our unit, the MACTAC section. This really is not Metro sanctioned. We came up with this in our unit because there's a need for it in the community. We've done this presentation all over in banks, different businesses, casinos, everywhere, schools. We've put on this presentation. So really it's just about awareness and what you can do should an incident happen where you are. Who could tell me what the latest active assailant or active shooter incident was?
It was like just a couple days ago.
Who said West Virginia? 800 points. She gets a card. 800
Another one over there.
All right. How many were killed? 12. Another one.
Man, right up front.
Okay. We're handing out points. Handing out points.
I gotta watch the whole, I gotta watch.
Yeah, you gotta go around. We're gonna have to start getting hands so we can hear. All right, so that was the latest one that was pretty publicized. It's out of the news now. I'm trying to look on my phone to see where, to get some stats from it, the article or the news for it's already out. They do have a different one in there today from the weekend.
Yep.
Can you tell me? What is it? Who can tell me what happened during the weekend? You tell me. It's a quiz. It's for points. Chicago was not an active assailant. 10 dead, 52 shot over the weekend in Chicago. And that's probably from gang shootings or wherever the case is. Okay? So, and a lot of the stats we're going to go over, we typically keep out Chicago and Baltimore and places like that because it skews the stats with active assailants. Here's an Metro loves acronyms. This is what MACTAC stands for. Multi-assault counterterrorism action capabilities. We started this in 2009 after Mumbai, India terrorist attack in 2008. Let's see. This is what Metro covers in Clark County. Over 8,000 square miles, 2.1 million residents, which we have more than that now. We were, this is boring stats, we're going to pass this. This is garbage. All right. We're getting into what the definition of an active assailant is. We hear the term active shooter a lot, right? It's a very common term, but we're trying to get away from that and call it active assailant. Why do you think we're trying to get to that term?
Because they don't always have guns.
Not always a gun. Okay?
That's 4.
That's 4? Oh, points. Good. Points. All right, this definition, I think it came out of the FBI. One or more persons who are randomly or systematically involved in the act of using deadly force on others, and it appears based on available intelligence that the suspects will not stop their aggressive hostile actions without immediate and direct law enforcement action. What stands out in this definition to you? Will not stop. That's right here, points. That is really the first time that somebody said will not stop. That's what jumps out to me. There's other things in there, using deadly force, hostile actions, all this stuff, will not stop. These are the people that are very determined. They're going to go in there. They're not going to stop until somebody stops them. If you're up to date on the news in Virginia, there was a 5 to 8 minute gun exchange, a shootout with the police. So he was determined to take a lot of people, even cops, with him. So this is different than, say, a person, maybe hostile work environment, a person is seeking out somebody specific, a boss or something. We've seen lots of that in the news as well. It's different. Okay, this is just a random. He's going somewhere public, and this person is just going to start pulling the trigger, or using a knife, or a vehicle, or whatever the case is, and kill whoever's in his way. All right, very different mindset. We're going to talk about some incidents that have happened to make some points. We talk about Columbine because this changed law enforcement as we know today. This changed how law enforcement responds to these incidents. Who could tell me what law enforcement did during this incident? What did the cops do? Sat out outside. Yeah, so they sat outside, surrounded it. That was the protocols, that was the standard tactics for the time. Who dealt with this kind of issue? SWAT. SWAT dealt with this stuff. So the cops, the street cops, had to get there, surround it, so nobody could escape or go in, right? SWAT got there, and they would go in and handle that. But what was happening when they were waiting for SWAT? They were shooting. So you can see 13 were killed, 24 were wounded. Do you think those numbers could have been different if those officers went in? Absolutely. We believe that could have happened. So I say this changed how law enforcement responds. Now, since '99, all officers, those street cops, have been trained to be able to go in there, not wait outside, and go in there and handle it. They've been given the tactics and the ability to do that. Okay. Who could tell me how many? They had multiple IEDs. You see that on the bottom. Multiple IEDs. How many IEDs did they have? Anybody know? It wasn't put out in the news very much. They had 99 improvised explosive devices. So pipe bombs, things like that. They used some propane tanks. They hooked up some timers and things like that would explode. Some went off, some didn't. Each suspect, after they were found dead, had 13 of those pipe bombs on them. They're fairly small, but they had 13 of them on their person, each. Virginia Tech, this was very planned out. He sent a big manifesto to the news, to the police departments. He told them exactly what he was going to do. All this stuff. He ended up killing 32 and wounding 23. What he did was, in Norris Hall is where most of the killing happened. Norris Hall is an old building of Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, if you're not familiar with it, is primarily a ROTC school. Okay, so that tells you a little bit about that. There's a lot of ROTC students involved in this. The old crash bars on the doors, not these new ones, but the old ones that have just the bars. He chained those together so nobody could come in or out. So that slowed law enforcement down. People couldn't get out as well. Law enforcement eventually got in there and were able to stop him. They had a brief an exchange of gunfire with the suspect. He ended up committing suicide. But what he did, walked into a school, walked into that hall, walked into a class, and just started pulling the trigger at students. What was the reaction?
They froze.
What was that?
They froze.
They froze. Okay? There was one student that was documented as to have gotten up and rushed the shooter. He was killed, but he was the only one that tried to do something. Most of those, a lot of the students were found deceased at the desk with their chin in their hand. They were surprised, they didn't do nothing, they froze. Okay, so something to think about now is, can it happen anywhere? Absolutely. It can happen in hospitals, it can happen at Walmart, it can happen anywhere. Military bases, Fort Hood, if you remember that incident. It can happen anywhere. So you have to be prepared and have some type of plan and a mindset that if something happens here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go out this way, or whatever the case is. So this is what we try to get across to people. Yeah, you got to have some type of plan. As I said before, our unit was started because of this terrorist attack in Mumbai, India. Mumbai is kind of an entertainment hub of that part of the world. The 10 terrorists, they are from the Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist group. There was 10 of them. They broke into two-man teams, went throughout the city, and just started creating havoc. What they did was place IEDs or small bombs in the taxis. They went through the town, got out of those taxis. Taxis kept going through the town, they exploded. So what did that do? That drew all the emergency personnel, medical, over to those areas. They weren't there. They went to other places. They went to the Taj Hotel there. They went to nightclubs. They went to the train station. If you recall, the pictures from these scenes were pretty horrific. And it was, I think 96 hours, not 72, but it was about 3 days long. What do you think would happen in Vegas on a 3-day attack, right? What happened during 9/11 in Las Vegas? Did that hurt our tourism? It hurt us, okay? So if something were to happen in Vegas, this economy would be devastated. So we thought ahead, we put things in place, started this section, the MACTAC section, put protocols in place throughout the entire valley. Not just with Metro, but with other law enforcement, like school police, North Las Vegas, Henderson. Anybody that carries a gun in town has been trained in MACTAC protocols. So they held that city off for a long time. This is the sole surviving terrorist. He was captured and got some intelligence off him, which was good. Usually they always end up getting killed. So we've had incidents in this town. Prior to this, who can remember, who's been in town for quite a while? Years. 97, 96-ish. Okay, you remember the Albertsons at Valley View, close, Valley View and Sahara. There's an Albertsons there. Zane Floyd, anybody remember that? He was an active assailant. He went into the Albertsons and just started killing people with a shotgun. He survived. This happened here at Lloyd D. George Federal Courthouse, 2010, right after we started our MACTAC protocols. So we had a good response of personnel there. Where is this located? It's downtown, right? What street is that, right there on the bottom right? That's the Boulevard, Las Vegas Boulevard, right? Across the street you have that old, over here you have that old school. But there was he walked in, he was upset about something happening to his social security benefits, so he went into the nearest federal building. Okay, this building has nothing to do with social security. Went in there, had a gun fire exchange, shot the security guard. Happened to be one of our retired officers. Went to work for them when he retired. They had a shootout. They came out here on this patio area, had a shootout. He went across the street and they ended up killing him. But we were able to clear most of this building because there were some reports of multiple shooters. So we had to go into the courthouse and clear every building. Patrol officers and other 3-letter federal agencies were able to help with that and clear that before SWAT was able to formally clear that whole building. So they're in there really quickly. Sandy Hook, one of the most horrific shootings, I think, in this country because it was primarily grade school kids. Probably one of the worst briefings. We sat on the aftermath, after action briefing on this, and it was just, the details are horrific. So he killed 20 students, killed his mother, took the guns from his mom's house, went to the school, killed 20 students, 6 teachers. He engaged police as they were driving up through the windows, and they didn't even know it. But you think of a school as fairly secure, and it was secure. After school started, they locked the doors. You know, you gotta push a button to buzz in to be able to be led into the school, go to the office. But what happened was he shot out the big glass window that's next to the door and just walked in. So he shot the window out, walked in, and did what he did. But a fairly secure place. Okay, no security guards, no police there. He knew that. This, who remembers this? Batman premiere, whatever it was,
Yeah.
right? People thought, in the theater, they thought it was part of the show at first. He deployed some CS gas, which created this big smoke, and people were like, hey, this is cool. Then he started shooting into the crowd. Well, they quickly realized it wasn't, part of the show. He purchased a ticket, went in, sat down, enjoyed the trailers. Then he walked to the exit that's behind the screen where he parked, walked out there, geared up, got his weaponry, came back in, and then started doing that stuff. When he finished, he was going back out to his vehicle, and officers were there very quickly. So when he went back out to his car, officers were coming up. They saw him dressed in all black gear. He had a gas mask on, and what they initially thought was, man, SWAT got here really fast, right? But then they noticed that some of his gear didn't look like their standard issue police gear. They went out, they stopped him. He took that gas mask off and whatever, and they saw this orange hair. They're like, that's not regulation. You can't have that orange hair. Good. They took him into custody, okay? They tried to get more information out of him, trying to see if there's other assailants in there. Officers started going through there, trying to search and find more shooters. Eventually didn't, but now they have multiple injured, 70 injured, 12 were killed. So the protocols and the procedures at the time for medical personnel, ambulances, fire department, they needed to wait until the scene was deemed cold or clear. There are no threats at all before they can go in and start rendering aid. How long do you think that takes? Long time. Okay, we got to clear multiple movie theaters, right? Evacuate people, and they were calling for medical to come in. Come in. We need medical now. Well, they couldn't, so cops, getting frustrated, started putting medical or wounded people in their vehicles and driving them to hospitals. Go back, grab more people, take them back. So what did that do to the ORs? ORs are full, right? They're getting deeper into the theater. They're finding more traumatic wounds, chest wounds, head wounds, taking those to the hospitals. Can they get into the ORs? No, right? So our fire department looked at this. We went to them and was like, how can we get you guys in to treat people quicker? And they're like, we'll go in with an armed escort. We're like, awesome. And we're the first to do it, to start it in the world. We've gotten, first it was called Force Protection. It has since gone national, and even it's going all over the world now, but it's called Rescue Task Force. So it is just, we are linking up, law enforcement is linking up with fire department personnel, and we're able to go in to an area that has been affected by something like this, and they can start triaging it, doing quick, life-saving intervention. Tourniquets, chest seals, things like that, real quick, move on to the next one. And right behind that team, you have extraction teams coming up, grabbing people that are wounded and getting them out to a good casualty collection point and doing triage. So that being said, how quickly do you think we can get in to start treating wounded now compared to before? It could be hours. You're saving hours, a lot of time. And medical personnel, as you know, that the time is essential. So that's what spurred from this incident protocols here in Las Vegas. We'll skip through these terrorist attacks. San Bernardino, right next door, right? About 3 hours away. This was a work party. What was unusual about this incident? Who could tell me? was an active assailant. What was weird about it or unusual?
He's up party and you left, you're back.
Okay, it's not what I'm looking for, but
He was looking for only males.
what was that?
Because it's a woman. One man.
A woman involved with it.
It's usually men.
Points, good job. Yeah, usually it's a man, a male perpetrating this type of thing. You'll see women overseas, different countries, getting involved in this. They will, terrorist organizations will use families, they will use children to perpetrate this type of thing. But it's very rare here in the United States. So it was unusual that this happened with a woman. They eventually, let me just get into it. So there's 14 killed, 21 wounded. They did leave, they came back, and then started shooting. There were 3 pipe bombs left at the scene, and we don't know for sure, but we believe that was for the first responders as they arrived on scene. They wanted to detonate those bombs to kill first responders. And the reason we think that is the case is because this black SUV, if you remember the news footage, this black SUV was seen, it's on video, leaving the parking lot as officers were coming in. So they kind of miss each other. Okay, they're leaving, officers arriving. They pinged their cell phones afterwards, and they showed a pattern of them circling that area. What do you think the suspects would do, maybe a normal person? What would you do if you shot at the place? You'd try to get it far away from it as possible. They circled it. And we think they're trying to detonate those bombs. We think. There's no way knowing because they're dead. We killed them. So they're in a pursuit and a shootout with police. Who was shooting out the back door or out the back window of that SUV? The woman. She had an AK-47. She was shooting at the police. And where were they in pursuit? Where were they driving? Do you guys know? Residential. There's a lot of residential area. Where do you think those rounds were going? People's houses, people's cars. People are outside watching. So we're very lucky that more people weren't injured because of that. They searched the suspect's home. They found 12 more pipe bombs, a lot of ammunition. They talked to the neighbor. The neighbor is documented as being interviewed. And they asked him, did you notice anything weird about them? Anything peculiar? He said, yep, I knew something was weird about them. You know, we heard explosions because they were testing their pipe bombs in the backyard. They heard explosions. They saw them bringing materials in to their home. Why did he not say anything?
Fear.
Fear of what?
Retaliation.
Okay, there's a little bit in there, but he said something specific. Points, right here. Yep, he didn't want to be thought of as a racist because they're Middle Eastern. He didn't want to call and say, hey, I think my neighbors are Middle Eastern, I think they're terrorists. That's what his mindset was. Okay, so he didn't call. So we just encourage people, it doesn't matter their race. Look at their behavior. If you hear things in the backyard, explosions, if you see them bringing weapons or pipes or things like that, is that going to draw your attention? Obviously, yes. Give us a call. You can be anonymous when you call. You can say, you can call 311 if it's not an emergency. Say, hey, this is what my neighbors are doing. I really don't want to be contacted, but this is what's going on. We will go to their house. We will knock on their door, and if they open their door, we can have a conversation. We can look around. If it's in public view, we can look around. We can look in windows. Who knows what could have happened if you would have called? Who knows? I'd like to think, these numbers could have been different, but we never know. So just call us and we'll go check. We'll go check. And if it's nothing, we'll leave. But if it is something, maybe we can get into it. We can freeze the premises. We can get a search warrant really easy, and we can go there. Pulse Nightclub. Okay? Going back to Sandy Hook real quick. There are websites in the dark web that encourage this sort of behavior. So there was a website that was being monitored when Sandy Hook happened. There was an uptick in activity, and they go on a points basis system. So they're giving the shooter props. Hey, good job shooting up Sandy Hook. Good job, but you're only getting half a point for the kids because they're really easy to kill. I would have done it this way. I would have used this firearm. I would have used explosives, whatever the case is. So they egg each other on, right? Come to Pulse Nightclub, the same website, uptick in activity. And, you know, again, good job. You are the high scorer. Pulse Nightclub became the high score. They were scoring these incidents. Right? Winner. Pulse Nightclub is the winner. Okay, what beat Pulse Nightclub? How many were killed? 50. 53 injured. So what's the high score now?
Vegas.
Vegas. 58. Okay, Vegas is the high score. Unfortunately. So there are some very sick, demented minds out there that encourage this stuff. Okay, some evil people. Pulse Nightclub was not his first choice. Where do you think his first choice was? And it wasn't. It was about his fourth or fifth choice. So the shooter wanted to go somewhere specific. Where was it? No. Look for hands.
Gay individuals?
No.
Orlando.
Disney. Points. Points. Disney. Downtown Disney. He's on video in downtown Disney pushing a stroller. He doesn't have any children. Pushing a stroller in downtown Disney. What do you think is in the stroller?
Guns.
Probably weapons. Right? He saw a group of officers in downtown Disney, so he aborted that. He said, no, not today, I'm not going to do it. Typically what happens in Orlando with the nightclubs will hire off-duty officers as security for the night. They will come in uniform. It happens a lot here in Las Vegas. They'll come in uniform. There'll be a marked patrol unit out there, so you can see there's officers there, and they'll stand by the nightclubs. So he went by the first nightclub, saw an officer there. No, I can do it here. Went to the next one, saw the same thing. No. So when he got to Pulse Nightclub, he did not see a marked unit. There was an officer there. He was in an unmarked patrol unit. I think it was a truck, actually, but it wasn't a marked unit. The officer was dealing with somebody and getting them kicked off the premises. So he's trespassing somebody, so he didn't see that officer there. He obviously parked, got his weapons, started to go in. The officer sees him. They have a quick shootout in front of the nightclub, and he makes it inside. And that's what happened. So then he started doing his damage in there. So 50 killed, 53 injured. Again, the people thought it was part of the show. Okay, anybody ever heard gunshots? Probably a lot of us. Las Vegas. A lot of gunshots. Anybody heard gunshots inside a building? Mm-hmm. Yeah, a few. Usually there's not too many. You'll see interviews of people afterwards, after an incident, and they'll say, it sounded like fire. I thought it was firecrackers. I thought it was fireworks. They're very similar sounding to fireworks, but if you're hearing them in a building, it's probably a clue, right? It's probably not fireworks. Not Firework Friday for employees, safety week. You're not going to have Fireworks Friday. Right? It says down here, some patrons went 3.5 hours without medical care. There is a fire department, I think, kitty corner to this. So the fire personnel locked down their facility because they heard the shots. People were trying to get in. They thought they were under attack. They didn't let anybody in for quite a while. They did eventually get medical personnel there. That's about it. So there's high score 58. That is over 800 injured. And that is 800 injured by gunfire. Okay, there's more injured from trample and things like that, but a lot more injured from gunfire or shrapnel from gunfire. We have prepared for an elevated attack, being in Las Vegas. We've trained for it. When the old Sahara closed down, they let us use the facility, and we did a high-rise type attack from there, so we did train for it with the fire department personnel. The rescue task force, which I spoke of, working with the fire department, going into a hot scene, there was 19 teams total that night, rescue task force teams. They had no hesitancy whatsoever to go in and help people. And I say go in, I mean the area. So how do you think how big of an area was a hot zone, which the shooter can shoot people. It was a long time. It was past Tropicana, well into the airport, right? All the big, a lot of areas. So the primary spot where FD started deploying was Tropicana and the Boulevard, which is dead center in that guy's line of fire, and they still worked. So hats off to the fire department and the medical personnel that showed up. They stayed in there and they worked. Their primary protocols to form that team, of course you have to have wounded. They're not going to go into a scene if there's nobody hurt, right? You have to have a warm zone established, which there was not a warm zone. Warm zone is an area that the shooter or the assailant cannot get a line of sight shot or some type of harm to the fire department personnel. That whole area was hot zone, and they worked in it. And you need to have command post and FD and law enforcement working together in the command post. So there's certain protocols that they need. Some of them weren't there, but they still acted, which says a lot about the fire department. So an active assailant, on average, the incident is over within 10 to 15 minutes. Since 2006, we've had an active assailant with 4 more deaths every 2.9 months. In the U.S., we've had an average of 20 mass shootings every year. These stats have changed. We're in the process of updating this presentation, so the numbers have changed. It's increasing. You think it's going to slow down? No, society's getting crazier. Put it, yeah, loosely. Numbers are going up. Who has seen this video? You can pull it up on YouTube. I suggest you show it to your families. Good information on what to do, and we'll talk about it when it's over. It's about 5 minutes long.
It may feel like just another day at the office, but occasionally, life feels more like an action movie than reality. The authorities are working hard to protect you and to protect our public spaces. But sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. The warning signs may vary, but the devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst. If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try and escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911.
She started off unconscious.
If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. Silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk, whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight, act with aggression, improvise weapons, disarm, and commit to taking the shooter down, no matter what.
He's gonna get heated.
Try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.
Video, right? Short and sweet, has a lot of good info. We wanted to smack her. I know some people up front. Anybody in the back? We wanted to smack her. Yeah.
That's afraid to be a man.
I like the other lady. She just pushed her in the corner and pointed. Get down. No messing around. You will have those reactions though, right? You'll have every kind of reaction. Talking about Virginia Tech again, with the students freezing up. You'll have that reaction. People will freeze. Their minds will lock. They won't do anything. They'll just stand there. You know, mouths open, big wide eyes. But you'll have people fight. We saw that in Virginia Tech, and you'll have flee. So that's a natural human reaction, is you want to fight or flee. But a lot of times nobody talks about freeze, right? The lady froze up. She's being loud, giving away their position. Yeah, gotta cover her mouth up. Put a sandwich in there. Anyway, so we're talking about run. If you can get out, get away from that area. Okay? As you saw from videos in 1 October, the first couple shots, if you saw the videos of it, he was shooting one round here, one round there. You could barely hear him, and some of the people in the crowd started. Who was there? Who was at 1 October? Okay? Usually there's someone that was there, or anybody knows anybody that was there. So we usually have a lot of people that know people over there. So on the video, you can see some people are like, that's kind of where I'm thinking I'm going to leave now. And then the shots really come out, and then a lot of the crowd start exiting that area. So they're fleeing, they're running, trying to get away from it. Know where your exits are. So anytime you go into a building, Walmart, supermarket, office building, medical facility, whatever it is, know where your exits are, okay? A lot of people are just trained to go in one door. I came in a door, I'm gonna go out that same door, right? If you go into, say this room, you come in this back door, we know where the other exits are, okay?
Does
So,
anybody know how many exits we have in the building? 13? That's
sorry, I heard two answers. It's 8. 8 public exits or entrances, so I know that's an answer on your quiz, but it's good to know that there's 8 different ways to get in or out of this building.
Yeah. So the way you came in might not be the way you want to leave. If you come into a room and there's only one way in, one way out, is that your only exit? What other ways can you get out of a room that only has one door?
Windows.
Windows, somebody pointed in the rafters. This fabulous Las Vegas construction drywall, you push your hand through it. Go through the walls.
Please don't.
You go to hammer something, a nail on there, and your hand goes through it.
We have blood at night.
If you can advise people to leave, have them leave with you. Do not get in a tug of war with these people, though. You saw the one lady hide under her desk, and they're like, "Come on, come on." She stayed there, but then they grabbed her, and she came with them. But if you have a tug of war with somebody, how long are you gonna be fighting them?
About 2 seconds.
Yeah, okay, see ya. A lot of people will stay there. I mean, medical personnel, you guys have patients and things you gotta deal with. And what we tell medical personnel, yeah, get out. We understand that you have an obligation to patients, but we want you to survive to be able to come back and start rendering aid. Okay? So think about that. You might want to stay. If you can barricade yourself, we'll talk about that. Barricade yourself. But if you can get out, please initially get out and get away from it. Don't go out in the parking lot and hang out. Get in your car and go home. Go to Starbucks, go somewhere else. Right? Call your boss, say, "Hey, I went to the mall. I'm 20 miles away. I'm not near there, so don't hesitate, do something." Again, coming back to Virginia Tech, don't freeze up. You gotta have a plan now, what you're gonna do when something happens. Leave the area. Okay, when you're safe, when you're away from it, call 911. The more calls we get into 911, the more legit it'll be. We get calls all the time, prank calls. "Hey, I just shot up the mall." We get one call. Okay, if we get 30 calls, 50 calls, 100 calls, do you see the difference? We'll still send somebody on the one call, but if we get multiple calls, you'll get a different reaction, essentially, from the police. So if you can't get out, hide. Okay? Pick a room. Maybe there's a room in this facility that you know of that you could be used for this purpose, to hide in. If you do find that type of room, some type of closet, whatever the case is, stock it with a case of water, maybe some granola bars, because you're going to be in there a while. Can you imagine an incident happening in a facility like this, police coming in, clearing it? How long do you think it's going to take us to clear it and make it safe? And we're going to be knocking on our doors. You guys are be hiding. "Hey, police, open up." Are you going to open the door?
No.
Why not? God. I say that every time. Why not? Police, Metro Police, open the door.
Easy to say, Metro. Exactly.
It's easy to say. So how do you know it's us?
Put your ID under the door.
Okay?
I'm not even going to say that I'm there.
A lot of us don't carry our ID. What else?
Responding.
Anything else? How do you know it's us? Points. Call 911. Who said it? Hand up.
Call 911 and ask.
Call 911. Say, "Officer, hey, we're in a shooting. This wherever you are. There's officers knocking on our door, number 320. They say they're officers. I don't believe them." Okay, what can they do? They're going to call us on our radios. Say, "Are you outside 320? "Yep." They will talk to you. "Hey, that's Officer Hughes. He's out there." You can open the door. Don't ask them to slide a business card. No badge under the door, nothing like that. You can find that stuff on. Yeah, I got 14 badges I bought off the internet. Use them all the time. Shut off the ringers on your phones. Turn the lights off. Lock the door if you can't. Place stuff in front of it. These doors obviously push out. You can still stack stuff in front of it. All these tables, everything you find, stack up in front of it, makes it hard for him to get in there and get victims.
Does anyone remember in our Run, Hide, Fight video for the hospital what we're supposed to do? Go ahead, hand in the back. Gate belt's one of them, that's good. What else? Because the patient room door is what? Don't lock. So what do you do if you're pushing out the hide? You can push the bed against the door, and then you also go into the patient room and with the patient or whomever's in the room and go into the bathroom, lock the bathroom door and stay there. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, make sure he's out of the bed when you push it. You see these type of doors have the arms, the hinges up top, okay? Wrap a belt around those. They sell commercially available things that you can put on that, some metal sleeves, things like that, but if you wrap something around that arm, it'll make it harder for them to get in as well. And again, call 911 when you can. There's some pictures of some of the commercially available things. This is essentially just a belt. They wrap it around, cinch it down. Here's your metal sleeve that slides over it. Some other things you can put on the doors. So just stacking stuff up in front of it. So there's a lot of things you can do to harden your facility without causing undue stress or budget issues, things like that. Last but not least, fight. Okay, if he gets into the room, you have to fight. Why is he there? He's already established why he's there. You've heard the shots. Now he's in your room. Is he going to quit? You just say, good job taking care of my mom. She's healthy now. No. No. He's probably already killed his mom, and now he's coming after everybody else. Who knows? He's there to kill people. Use whatever you can. Notice the lady's already pushing the corner. She's gone. Useless. So they grabbed everybody. They grabbed a chair, fire extinguisher, whatever you got. There's all kinds of stuff in this facility you can use. Lots of sharp objects. Probably some sedation type stuffs. Jab them in the neck. Maybe even just air in the needle. I heard air in the needle does good. I don't know. Make sure, yeah, big gauge needles. Use whatever you can. We always talk about improvised weapons. Okay, fire extinguishers, whatever you got. Sticks. Okay, you might get one shot, jab it in their eye. Whatever you got. Pens. We talk about movies, John Wick, you know, they're movies. John Wick killed the guy with a pencil. Casino, Joe Pesci killed that dude. The pen, whatever. Use anything. Staple? Yeah, whatever. This is when you have to use aggression. We run into people that have never been in a fight in their life, never been in a schoolyard fight, bar fight, anything like that. Good. We need people like that in this world. Okay? We need people that have not been, or not violent people. Okay? But there are other people that are violent. My wife likes to talk about using aggression. If somebody is threatening her kids, Mama Bear. She says Mama Bear comes out. And big claws and blackout, and then she just goes for it. Right? Use aggression. If you have never been aggressive in your life, this is the time that you're going to flip the switch and you're going to be as aggressive as you never thought you could be. Okay? Your determination to live has to be greater than his determination to kill you. You have to overcome this person. We'll get a lot of questions with, well, what if I end up killing this person? I like these ladies up front. Okay? What if I end up killing him? You're okay. State of Nevada says you're okay. Okay? You're trying to save lives, your life, and you stop and incapacitate this person if he ends up dying from what you do. Oh well. Are you going to go to the funeral? No. Right? Make a plan. If you have multiple people in there with you, make a plan. Somebody, hey, what are we going to, if he gets in here, what are we going to do? Okay? What do we do? Let's put stuff against the doors. Whatever. Make a plan. Okay? But again, aggression. Flip the switch and get nasty. Right? Again, I've already mentioned this. We've trained every law enforcement and fire department in the valley with these tactics. They're consistent throughout the valley. So if Northtown or Henderson cops get into the area with some metro officers, we're not going to say, what method do you use to go and fight activists? No, there's none of that. We just go. Everybody knows. Okay? Our response first is to stop the threat. Why? Yeah, if we start helping victims or that, you know, the killing keeps going. We will step over injured officers and we'll stop the threat first. Okay? We'll stop the threat first. We have to. Rescue Task Force, again, they'll be moving in very rapidly after Initial teams have gone in to try to stop this guy. Even if he is not deceased, if that assailant is not deceased, but if he is cornered or in some type of room and he can't get out, we're going to send in medical teams. Okay? Medical is coming in. First and foremost, what do we need from you? Cooperation. When officers get there on scene, and believe it or not, a lot of people don't want to listen to the cops. I don't know if you know that. We have a lot of problem with that. But if an officer gets on scene, they start controlling things. They want to slow it down. They want to see people hands. They want to see things in hands. We will quickly determine who the bad guy is, who's holding the gun, right? And I think I'll get into it a little bit later. But if there is concealed weapons holders that have concealed permits, wherever you are, the mall, whatever it is, there's guns everywhere in this valley. We don't know who has guns. We issue the permits, but we don't walk down the street and say, I issued your permit last week. We don't know. Okay? There are a lot of people, good people that have guns on them that want to help. And we saw that, unfortunately, in one of the incidents in Walmart where 2 officers were shot. We had a citizen try to help and he was killed. He had a CCW. So we ask that if you do have a CCW, a concealed weapons permit, defend where you are. Defend. Don't go actively hunt this person. That is our job. Defend where you are. Hold the room. You know, you don't have to use an extinguisher if he gets in the room. Now you got a gun, right? Blast his face out.
I will mention we're a non-firearm facility, so other than these
Yeah.
2 gentlemen, I hope nobody is carrying or concealing. No.
Yeah, that depends on the company. Just so you know, Clark County School District, they can have concealed weapons on them. The teachers can. That is up to the principal.
Oh, I did not know that.
Okay? There are some principals that allow that, some don't. Just so you know. But we don't want to come around the corner and see a good citizen that just saved the day with a firearm. Now he's holding cover on the suspect. And we come around the corner and see somebody holding a gun. What are we going to think? You're going to have very quickly. So please put the gun away when everything's done. Put the gun away, holster it, put it down. We need to see empty hands. Plainclothes security officers, we deal with that on the strip a lot. We ask them to be readily identifiable, some type of sash, some type of vest, if something's going down, put on something that's going to stand out. Hey, I'm security, I'm a good guy. Okay, again, we don't want to come around the corner and have to deal with something like that, unfortunately. It's a blue on blue incident, we call it. Good guys shooting good guys. We don't want that to happen. Again, I don't know if there's go bags here. Okay. These are a good idea for businesses, for arriving officers, because we don't know the layout of the place. Think of the casinos and the basements or the guts of casinos. They're just winding hallways. It's hard to get around. VA hospitals, stuff like that. It's hard to find our way. So if we have some type of map or some type of something that's going to lead us, it's good to have in there a proxy card or keys to get in the doors. If you can, a security radio. We will probably send somebody to the camera area to monitor. If you guys have a camera area here, we'll send somebody there so we can have real-time updates from an officer in that video surveillance area telling us, okay, he's right here. We did that, again, on that Walmart incident. We have officers in the camera area, and they directed officers to where those 2 assailants were in the back corner. Very helpful. There's CCW, I already talked about that. Training. So again, you guys are doing training. You invited us here. Train it. Don't mirror your fire drill policy. We want people congregating in the parking lot. Why do you think? Yeah, there have been sitting ducks. There have been incidents where that has happened. The Florida shooting in the high school, there's been so many. He hit the fire alarm, got the kids out in the hallway, which gave more targets, right? People started evacuating. 96, it happened in Jonesboro, Arkansas, in a junior high. I think they were 10 and 13 years old. 2 assailants set up a sniper nest out in the woods, pulled the fire alarm. All the kids came out to their spots and they started shooting the kids. So couple of kids did it in '96. It's not, nothing new. So don't do that, just get out of here. Okay, we're done. Train it. Think about brand protection, how you're gonna start business up again. Here's your local area command is Bolden Area Command. Have those officers in the community-oriented policing section come here, tour it, so they get familiar with it. And I think that's it.
Before you stand,
Yeah, before you stand.
check under your seat. There are randomly stickered prizes attached to a couple of the chairs under here.
It's for a new Glock 19X. Already got it. What you get is probably beef jerky or something.
I have that and a hair net.
Where's the winners? They're handing stuff out. Who else got it? Who else got it? We got stuff up here.